Hello and welcome to episode 83 of This Week in Germany. We'll be bringing the world to Germany and Germany to the world with news for the week beginning the 3rd of August 2015. My name's Daniel.
And my name's Rob. Each week we feature a story from the news, society, and culture in the English language. If you want to find out more, including ways to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, head over to our website, thisweekingermany.de.
And yes, it's time for episode 83. So what is coming up this week, Rob?
Well, I'm excited to tell you about a new destination that I have picked out for everyone. It is we're going to the Zeil in Frankfurt, which is a huge shopping street.
Cool. And also Sven Rudloff, who is our resident psychiatrist, or psychologist, not psychiatrist. What's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
I think one can prescribe medicine,
and the other one studies it like academically. Anyway,
Yes.
He's a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. He's not a doctor. He's not Dr. Sven. He's not going to be treating your issues with Germany, but rather he's going to be telling you all about German identity, where Germany gets its identity and how it views its place in the world. And so that's coming up later on as well.
Our German of the week is a Chinese man named, he's an artist, and his name is Weiwei. So I'll tell you all about his story and what he has to do with Germany.
But wait, Weiwei isn't German.
He's definitely not. He's Chinese. But he is now in Germany.
And that makes him our honorary German. Okay, well, let's start with story number 1, shall we? On Saturday, it was announced that an investigation into 2 journalists on treason charges would be stopped. Markus Beckedahl and André Meister wrote articles for the news website netzpolitik.org. Earlier this year, they reported classified information on Germany's mass surveillance program, or at least plans for increasing mass surveillance in Germany. They got this information from an anonymous source from within one of Germany's intelligence agencies.
Well, what exactly were they accused of, and why were they accused of it?
Well, it's kind of a bit of a dumb situation, basically, but the Prosecutor General of Germany, Harald Ringer, basically said that they were being investigated for treason, essentially because they took, I know, it's a pretty serious accusation, basically saying that they took classified information. Well, I mean, they were given it, but that they got this information and that they released it to the world and essentially revealed state secrets. And basically this kind of charge carries a minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of life in prison. Now, it's unlikely that they would get life in prison if they were found guilty of this, but certainly just the idea that they're being faced with such a heavy charge is pretty scary.
What kind of information were they reporting?
Well, basically it comes down to one particular new strategy which is being taken by the Bundesamt für Verfassungsschutz. That's basically like the constitutional protection agency in Germany. Basically, it's the internal security agency in Germany. And it was a 2013 document which was published around the February the 25th, and that is basically lays out their plans to collect data from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, basically to make connections where they currently don't have connections, kind of doing what the NSA does, but within Germany. And what they did, these 2 journalists, is they revealed information from that document, including things such as the budget, which is 2.75 million euros. And also the fact that, you know, there's going to be 75 security operatives who are only assigned to spy on Facebook chats, for example. This kind of information is what they revealed. And so, yeah, that's basically the information that they reported on.
That's pretty heavy. How's everyone reacting to that?
Well, I think the fact that this was happening, I think everyone knew about. The fact that the Bundesamt für Verfassungsschutz was planning something, people had an idea, but the specifics of the information people weren't aware of. But to the reaction of these journalists and netzpolitik.org being accused of treason, people basically went crazy. And of course, on Twitter, the hashtag Landesverrat, which is treason, was just came out of nowhere and was suddenly everywhere on German language Twitter. And of course, it spread to news websites in parts of the world as well. And the politicians in Germany were also pretty angry. Renate Künast, who is the head of the Greens, the Green Party in Parliament, and also is chair of the Bundestag's Legal Affairs Committee, basically said that investigation into these journalists for treason was humiliation to the rule of law. And basically, she said that they were targeting these people, these journalists who are standing up for freedom of information, rather than going after the people who are spying and eavesdropping in Germany, and like, for example, what the NSA did. And the fact that they're going after these journalists rather than going after the NSA, she found that pretty shocking. But on the other hand, Jens Köppen, who's the head of the Digital Agenda Bundestag Committee, and he's a member of the CDU, says, if something is classified as confidential, that also applies to journalists. And he basically says that, if these days anyone can be a journalist, then what does classified information mean if people can just reveal it and there be no consequences because they can say, I'm a journalist because I have a blog or something like that. So, yeah, so there was a broad range of opinions, but mostly people were absolutely against it. And there was a protest in Berlin, and thousands of people turned out on the Friedrichstraße, which is the main street running through Berlin, to protest the decision to investigate these people.
Is there any sort of precedent for this? Like, has it happened before?
Yes, well, in 1962, there was the Spiegel Affair. Basically, Spiegel, which is a news magazine in Germany, which is quite a popular, well-read magazine. They published information about Germany's defense forces, saying that they weren't ready to defend Germany in case of an attack, and basically that published information that a NATO commander's assessment of West German forces were only partially ready to defend the country, specifically. And the magazine was accused of high treason by publishing details that were hastily compiled defense ministry documents said were state secrets. And because of that, documents were confiscated in a police raid, and the head journalists and editor were imprisoned for a short time, were put into custody, essentially, while the investigation continued. And in fact, the minister involved in this case called up representatives in Spain and asked them to arrest the journalist who was in Spain, which was an absolutely illegal move. And in the end, it turned out that what they were reporting was true, and also 5 of the cabinet ministers at the time in the government resigned, demanding that the defense minister be fired for what he did, Franz Josef Strauss, basically for attacking press freedom. It's actually an important part of Germany's post-war history. And so when this comes into mind, this idea that these journalists are being accused of treason, people think back to this important event of 1962, and they worry that there's going to be police raids or some kind of arrests and people put into prison for basically revealing state secrets, but which the people should know about. And so that's why it's such an emotive topic in Germany. And Germany is quite a free and open place when it comes to journalism, but it seems even here we cannot be complacent. Whether through intent or by accident, powerful people can have a chilling effect on the media, which brings us important information about the country we live in.
And now for this week's News in Brief. Everyone is pretty aware that Greece has had some financial issues and is trying to get back on their feet. One of their greatest sources of income is the tourism sector, where visitors from around the world come to travel and spend money in the country. Germans, though, are now said to be less likely to visit Greece because of the recent past, where Germany has headed the debt payment negotiations. Many people in Greece seem to be upset with Germany, and would-be visitors are afraid how they might be treated. This is a stereotype or prejudice circulating in Germany right now, where Germans are not welcome in Greece, and that the dissatisfaction that Greece has with Germany's government would influence how they interact with tourists. Travel experts predict that Greece will have a difficult tourism recovery when it comes to Germans, due to the way the media covered the debt negotiations. German newspaper Der Spiegel has reported that Chancellor Angela Merkel has recently met with her senior party members in the CDU, and that they were discussing how Merkel was going to run again for office in 2017. If Merkel wins, it will be her 4th term as Chancellor. The expected official announcement that she'll be running again is the start of next year in 2016. Last week, Germany's defense minister, Ursula von der Leyen, has said Germany will support the country of Tunis in their fight against terrorism. On her trip, she met with the Tunis president and said that Germany could pledge 1.2 million euros to help combat terrorism in the country. She also announced that military equipment would also be given. This is coming after 2 recent attacks in Tunis. The first, a resort where 38 tourists were killed, and a more recent at a museum where 20 tourists and a police officer lost their lives to terrorists. On the outskirts of Dresden, a politician from the Left Party, Michael Richter, had his car blown up on Monday morning. The blast went off early in the morning, so thankfully no one was hurt, but many nearby cars were also damaged. Richter, who helped organize pro-asylum seeker events, believes this attack was carried out by far-right extremists, though no evidence as of yet has linked anyone from these groups to the crime.
That was this week's News in Brief. Now, Sven Rudloff is back with more behind-the-scenes access to life in Germany.
Hello, my name is Sven, and every month I give you some insights on what it means to be German, with interesting stories about typical German things and the German psyche. Today I want to delve right into the title of this monthly segment. What is a German anyway? When I do Viva Britannia, my bi-weekly German podcast about Britain, I regularly have to point out the difference between England, Britain and the UK, and that's just to start with. So let's see what we actually refer to when we talk about Germany. If we do this politically, it looks rather easy. After the Second World War, you had the Federal Republic of Germany, the Bundesrepublik Deutschland, so-called West Germany, and the German Democratic Republic, the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, so-called East Germany. Both republics reunified 25 years ago, on 3rd of October 1990. Since then, there's only the Federal Republic of Germany. And if you ask German citizens today, most would likely refer to themselves as German, that is being Deutsch. But you see, this is very much like being from the UK. You may refer to yourself as British when pressed, but in fact, most people will associate much more closely with the region they come from. And when I, as a German, say region, I'm not talking about German states or Bundesländer that make up the Republic. The German states are mere administrative inventions that usually don't represent historic areas. England has been England and Yorkshire has been Yorkshire for a long time, but a German state like North Rhine-Westphalia, Nordrhein-Westfalen, has only been created in the late 1940s. Like its name states, it consists of only the northern part of the Rhineland and of Westphalia, 2 regions which historically have been quite distinct. This is even worse with the German state of Rhineland-Palatinate, Rheinland-Pfalz, which got the southern part of the Rhineland and pieces from the former regions Bavaria, Nassau and Hesse-Darmstadt. So even today's state of Bavaria, Bayern, is not really the same as the Bavaria of old times. To cut a long story short, Germans rarely refer to themselves as coming from a particular German state. Instead, will often refer to a particular city or countryside. Things get even more interesting when we go back in time and look at where German as language is spoken and how its speakers are called by others. German, Deutsch, is mainly spoken in today's Germany, Austria, large parts of Switzerland, and in the autonomous region of South Tyrol in northern Italy. The word Deutsch itself is of Germanic origin. In Germanic, Theodisk or Diochu meant belonging to the people. From this developed words like Teutonic and Deutsch. They were used from the 8th century onwards to refer to Middle European tribes that neither spoke Latin nor a Romanic language as their mother tongue. At the time, the Franks and Charlemagne ruled across this German-speaking region, but the Frankish upper class quickly dropped the Old Germanic language and leaned more towards an early French dialect spoken in the western part of their dominion. And this is how the whole Franks, France, Frankreich thing happened. At the same time, there were many non-Frankish tribes who also spoke this particular Germanic language, like the Alemanni, the Bavarians and the Saxons. This is why German as a language is known by quite different terms in other languages, depending on how each language was exposed to German first. So, most Romanic languages go back to the original Germanic word Theodisk. So in Italian, German is known as Tedesco. Other Germanic languages in Northern Europe use words that closely resemble Deutsch. Thanks to Dutch colonialism, the Chinese, Koreans and Japanese also have words for German that somewhat resemble Deutsch. In Japanese, for example, this is Doitsu. The French lived close to the Germanic Alemanni tribe, and so they referred to German as Allemand. Via the French, this term also entered Arabic, Persian and even Welsh. The word German actually only came up during the Renaissance and was first used in English, from where it also entered Scottish, Irish, Hindi, Thai and Kiswahili, all thanks to British colonialism. All this led to the rather confusing situation that in English the word German refers to Deutsch, while Dutch refers to Niederländisch, the language spoken in the Netherlands, while English, German and Dutch are all Western Germanic languages and closely related to each other. Do you still follow? So sure, I'm German. I was born in Germany, German is my mother tongue, and I lived here for most of my life. Am I proud to be German? No. I'm proud about my own achievements or the achievements of other people. To be born in a particular region of the world is not an achievement. You yourself have no say in it. And when German nationalists talk about their home country and nation, they should really take a closer look at history. The political and language borders of what can be considered German have been shifting for millennia. I would even say that few European nations have a more diverse history than Germany. You can pick almost any spot in Central Europe, and at some time in history it will have been considered German, and at some time not. So let's just go with where we are today. Nationalism is kind of stupid. It's the people that matter. The rest is chance and politics.
Sven Rudloff there. If you would like more from him, you can check out his podcast about the UK, which is in the German language, at vivabritannia.de. And also you can check out Amazon as well, where the Viva Britannia book is available.
Coming up right now is Destination Germany. My favorite part, your favorite part, everybody's favorite part, where we take you somewhere in the country that we think is well worth a visit. It could be a place that everybody knows about. It could be a little tiny place that no one knows about, that you know about now. What we're trying to do is show you that Germany is a exciting and fun place to visit, and we'll have really cool places for you each week.
Yes, that's right. And if you want to see the places that we talk about, you can go to our website, which is
thisweekingermany.de, and we'll have photos every week of the destination. So you'll get a good mental image from the show, and then you can go to the website and actually see what the places look like.
Yes, you can imagine what you think it looks like, go to the website, see the photos, and see how wrong you were. So last time we were in Leipzig, and I highly recommend, if you ever go to that city, that you check out what was last week's destination, Germany. In episode 82, we talked about the Moritzbastei, an old city fortress from the 1500s that has since been turned into a cultural venue that has an impressive bar and club inside it as well. If heart-pumping techno or loud rock and roll isn't your thing, don't worry, as this place also hosts art and fashion shows, public speaking events, musicians from around the world, and also has a very nice setting underground or at a sunken patio or with a cafe for food and drinks with your friends. That's the Moritzbastei in Leipzig. Check that out. But now we're going to say goodbye to the old and say hello to the new. So, where are we going to be traveling to today, Rob? Amaze us with another great, amazing German location.
Okay, just take a quick train, bus, or plane ride away from Leipzig, and we're going to another mega city in Germany, Frankfurt. Everyone knows Frankfurt.
If you're going to take the bus, then it's going to take you ages to get there, and you're going to be very, very tired. So I highly advise you take the plane. I mean, Leipzig has an airport.
Yeah, definitely more comfortable and faster. But if you want to save some money, you can get a bus ride pretty much anywhere in the country for super cheap, which is great if you have the time.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone knows Frankfurt. It's one of the top 5 largest cities in the country and is the largest financial center in all of continental Europe. And speaking of, the place I'm taking to is all about money. You like money, don't you, Daniel?
No, I hate it. I don't even use it. I just use an ancient barter system. Yes, that's right. Well, it does come in handy from time to time, though. So when you want to have the roof over your head, feed yourself, or help to pay for this podcast, thank you for your donations, which we do pay out of our own pocket for the most part, except for the occasional bits and pieces that we get through the website. Thank you very much.
Well, money is pretty nice for all of that stuff, as well as buying really cool things. And Frankfurt is a huge banking investment center, but it is also a place that has huge shopping areas that you can go to. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about shopping.
Well, I'm glad when you said Frankfurt that you're not going to go to it's Germany's oldest bank or something like that.
Maybe next week. That does sound pretty fun. No, but I'm going to be taking you to one of the biggest and most famous shopping streets in the entire country. Our destination is a huge street called Zeil. And if you're interested in buying something, if you just want to peruse stores, both outside or through the windows, Zeil is the place for you. It's a long stretching road, home to shops, restaurants, and lodgings of every variety.
That's great. But now I want to hear the history. Can you bring on the history?
Well, if you insist, a bit of history now about Zeil and how it became an extravagant shopping district that it is today. If you can believe it, this street used to be pretty much just a dusty old road on the outskirts of Frankfurt. But during the mid-1300s, the city started to expand, and this wall of the city is now being, the wall of the outskirts of the city is being pushed out. And so this area was being marked for urban use now, and it started filling up with housing, and it's how it's got its name, because Zeile, meaning row, is a row in German. Frankfurt became a huge trade route city, so people coming in, going out of it all the time, and Zeil became well known for having a large offering of different hotels that travelers could stay in, so a lot of people were coming there. And as more people came, the busier it got. They finally started making it larger so that the road could adjust for all the traffic that was coming in.
Yes, one of those places where traders can come from humble beginnings and later go through hard work and a bit of luck to become rich and successful. The Frankfurt dream.
That is pretty much the way of things. Around the 1800s is when there was a citywide effort to really build up and make the street a showcase for the town. The area was prospering with new and large, beautiful monuments and buildings that were being added all the time, and it was being built up as a shopping mecca. Gigantic department stores were built, and little boutiques were lining the streets. It really displayed the wealth of the area, and as well as being a cultural city center point for Frankfurt.
And what happened to it during the 1940s? That was a big change period for a lot of big cities in Germany.
It did have a rough time during the Second World War, and a lot of the buildings there were destroyed. It's a shame because so many of the originals were gone, but it's pretty great, too, because it was renovated to a lot of the previous glory that they had, and some say it looks even better.
And what can people find there today?
First, you know how I said that they widened the street because of traffic?
Yes, go on.
Well, Zeil is now mostly pedestrian only, so you're not going to have to worry about cars zipping down the streets with the stores. And so they have it's a lot of green area. They have beautiful statues and a park, so you can just stroll along without having to worry about getting run down by cars between the different shops. And that is
it's very inconvenient when you're shopping when you get run down by a car.
It is. But you will find lots and lots of shopping there. That's what this place is all about. Shopping galore, huge department stores, like a bunch of places I can't name, probably like Konstabelwache. Ah, that's pretty close. Peak in Kloppenburg as their flagship store, the Noble House, Maiseil and the Zeil Galeria shopping complexes, and much, 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 much more.
Much, 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 much more, such as?
Well, lining the streets, there's tons of gastronomy stalls serving all sorts of different types of food from around the world. There are tons of brand name stores in this same location with department stores, and there's a lot of little unique boutiques there as well, so you can find treasures like you will nowhere else.
So because it's a pedestrian area, is it really difficult for travelers to reach it because they don't have the same traffic connections?
Not at all. There's plenty of parking garages around the area, so if you do go there by car, you can find a place to park. But I would suggest, if you can, to either go by tram, train, or subway, because if you're anywhere in Frankfurt, you can easily reach Zeil using public transportation and have a fun day of shopping, eating, or just strolling down this beautiful street.
Well, if you have enough money to spend on shopping, then you are a very, very lucky person, and there are plenty of places in Germany to be able to do that, and loads of cities, such as Frankfurt, have pedestrian shopping streets like Zeil, where people can go, walk around from store to store, and just have a great day outside and then in a few shops as well. If you want to go and check out exactly what Zeil in Frankfurt actually looks like, I invite you to check out our website, thisweekingermany.de, where we'll have some photos of this wonderful street. Next up, our German of the Week section, where we put the spotlight on a prominent person from this week's news. Could be a German citizen or even a foreigner who we deem an honorary German, which is quite relevant this week, who's had an effect, for better or worse, on German culture, society, or politics.
Our German of the Week is Chinese-born Ai Weiwei. Ai Weiwei is a renowned Chinese contemporary artist as well as being an activist. He is very critical of the Chinese government's stance on democracy and human rights. This may have led to the government taking note of Weiwei and investigating him as a possible punishment for his interference. He was arrested in 2010 for unnamed economic crimes. He was then released 81 days later without being charged. But his passport was taken away, which was crushing for him. He finally got it back 4 years later, and right after he received it, his first place that he decided to go was Germany. He has received a visa to come for a 4-year multi-re-entry stay and has now landed in Munich. Weiwei has a number of reasons to come to Germany, but one of the biggest is that his 6-year-old son and the mother of his child have already been living in Berlin. Another is that Germany loves the artist with his film, Berlin, I Love You, which tells a story about the long-distance relationship he has with his son. He has also organized multiple art shows dealing with contemporary sculpture in German museums since 2002. Be on the lookout for what Ai Weiwei will be offering now that he is here.
And that's it for episode number 83. That's right. Thank you very much to Sven Rudloff, our resident psychologist, who came on the program this week. And you can find out more about him and also get his his German language podcast about England and Britain at vivabritannia.de. This Week in Germany is produced by me, Daniel Winter. It is written and presented by myself and Rob Bishop. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back in 7 days with more of This Week in Germany.